Welcome friends. As part of our lecture series, today I am going to discuss the topic Biogeography. The main objectives of this lecture will be to understand biodiversity and an overview of biodiversity of India, concept of biogeography and its historical background, types of biogeography, biogeographical classification and its importance. Most things on earth are interdependent and interconnected. When man alters nature to meet his needs and wants, his actions have a much greater impact than expected. Thus, he should work with the rest of nature to sustain the ecological integrity, biodiversity, and Earth's genetic variety, which is the raw material for all future evolution. Dear friends, biodiversity is defined as the variety and variability among living organisms from all sources, including terrestrial, marine, and other aquatic ecosystems, and the ecological complexes of which they are the part. This includes diversity within species, between species, and of ecosystems. India figures among the biodiversity-rich countries in the world, having about 7.5% of the identified biological species. The Indian subcontinent is very rich in biological diversity, harboring about 49,000 species of plants, including about 17,500 species of higher plants. It possesses about 11.9% of world's flora, with 5,725 endemic species of higher plants, belonging to about 141 endemic genera and over 47 families. The Indian Gene Center holds a prominent position among the 12 megadiversity centers of the world. It is also one of the Wawillovian centers of origin and the diversity of crop plants, two of the global hotspots of biodiversity, namely the Indo-Burma region and Western Ghats also occur over here. About 166 species of crops, including 25 major and minor crops, have originated and are developed in this part of the world. Further, 320 species of wild relatives of crop plants are also known to occur here. Rich crop diversity is available in India in terms of both numbers of species and within the species. Land races, traditional cultivars, and farmers' varieties in several agricultural and horticultural plant species are abundant. But a decreasing trend is noted in areas moving towards advanced agricultural practices. Crops in which rich diversity occurs in the country include rice, wheat, maize, barley, pigeon pea, chickpea, minor millets, mung bean, urd bean, horse gram, rice bean, cluster bean, sesame, forage grasses, okra, eggplant, cucumber, melons, citrus, banana, jackfruit, mango, tamarind, jamun, jute, cotton, ginger, turmeric, pepper, cinnamon, and cardamom. Among tuberous crops, rich variability exists in sweet potato, taros, and yams. Native resources are also available in sword bean, velvet bean, and several minor fruits such as berries and nuts, and several species of rubus, juglans, pyrus, and prunus. First and foremost, biogeography. It is a dynamic and burgeoning field that seeks to understand the role of historical factors in shaping biodiversity, and as importantly, to develop predictive capacities for gauging how biodiversity will respond to our rapidly changing world. It is the study of the distribution of species and ecosystems in geographic space and through geological time. Historically, largely descriptive, we have seen the transformation of this field into a rigorous science. Now, with rapidly developing technologies, including genomic tools and environmental models, together with the availability of big data and increasingly sophisticated analytical tools, the field is poised for a revolution that brings its relevance into domains far beyond ecology and evolutionary biology, to include paleontology, bioinformatics, conservation, and invasive biology, as well as sustainable food systems and ecosystem services. Biogeography is an integrative field of inquiry that unites concepts and information from ecology, evolutionary biology, geology, and physical geography. Dear students, now the history of biogeography. The study of biogeography gained popularity with the work of Alfred Russel Wallace in the mid to late 19th century. Wallace, originally from England, was a naturalist, explorer, geographer, anthropologist, and biologist. He first extensively studied the Amazon River and then the Malay archipelago, the islands located between the mainland of Southeast Asia and Australia. During his time there, he examined the flora and fauna and came up with the Wallace Line, a line between the Oriental and the Australian faunal region. Those closer to Asia were said to be more related to Asian animals, where those close to Australia were more related to the Australian animals. Because of this extensive early research, Wallace is often called the father of biogeography. Following Wallace were a number of other biogeographers who also studied the distribution of species. Most of those researchers looked at the history for explanations, thus making it a descriptive field. In 1967, though Robert MacArthur and E.O. Wilson published the theory of island biogeography, their book changed the way biogeographers looked at species and made the study of environmental features of that time important to understanding their spatial patterns. As a result, island biogeography and the fragmentation of habitats caused by islands became popular as it was easy to explain the plant and animal patterns on islands. The study of habitat fragmentation in biogeography then led to the development of conservation biology and landscape ecology. Dear friends, now the types of biogeography. Today, biogeography is broken into three main fields of study. The three fields are historical biogeography, ecological biogeography, and conservation biogeography. Each field, however, looks at phytogeography, the past and present distribution of plants, and zoogeography, the past and present distribution of animals. Historical biogeography is called paleobiogeography and studies the past distribution of species. It looks at their evolutionary history and things like past climate change to determine why a species may have developed in a particular area. For example, the historical approach would say there are more species in the tropics than at high latitudes because the tropics experienced less severe climatic change during glacial periods. This led to fewer extinctions and more stable populations over time. The branch of historical biogeography is called paleobiogeography because it often includes paleogeographic ideas, most notably plate tectonics. This type of research uses fossils to show the movement of species across space via moving continental plates. Paleobiogeography also takes varying climate into account for the presence of different plants and animals. Ecological biogeography looks at the current factors responsible for the distribution of plants and animals. The most common field of research within ecological biogeography are climate equability, primary productivity, and habitat heterogeneity. Climate equability looks at the variation between daily and annual temperatures. It's harder to survive in areas with high variation between day and night and seasonal temperatures. Because of this, there are fewer species at high latitudes because more adaptations are needed to survive there. In contrast, the tropics have a steadier climate with fewer variations in temperature. This means plants do not need to spend their energy on being dormant and then regenerating their leaves and flowers. They don't need a flowering season, and they don't need to adapt to extreme hot and cold conditions. Primary productivity looks at the evapotranspiration rates of plants. Where evapotranspiration is high, so is plant growth. Therefore, areas like the tropics that are warm and moist foster plant transpiration, allowing more plants to grow there. In high latitudes, it's simply too cold for the atmosphere to hold enough water vapor to produce high rates of evapotranspiration, and there are fewer plants present. Finally, habitat heterogeneity leads to the presence of more biodiversity. After looking at the various fields in historic and ecological biogeography, conservation biogeography is developed. This is the protection and or restoration of nature and its flora and fauna. Biogeography is important as a branch of geography that sheds light on the natural habitats around the world. It's also essential in understanding why species are in their present locations and in protecting the world's natural habitats. Dear friends, do you know what's biogeographical classification and why is it important? Biogeographic classification is a classification process that aims to partition a large area into distinct geographical regions that contain groups of plants and animals and physical features that are sufficiently distinct and unique from their surroundings at the chosen scale. Biogeographic classification systems are hypothesis-driven exercises that intend to reflect biological units with a degree of common history and coherent response to perturbations and management actions. Hence, they are widely viewed as essential tools for ecosystem management, in that they assist in understanding how and where taxa are distributed and in marking the boundaries between biogeographic regimes. They provide a basis by which the spectrum of life on Earth can be studied, conserved, and sustainably and equitably managed. So specifically, a global classification framework allows for the broad-scale evaluation of the status of our knowledge and an initial assessment of which habitats, communities, and taxa may be subject to disproportionate impacts due to human activities. Such a framework can also highlight possibly fragmented habitats as well as the relative rarity and limited extent of distribution of associated fauna. In short, the classification is a necessary precondition for identification of representative areas within each zone and will assist efforts to implement ecosystem-based management. Now, I'll talk about phytogeography and the phytogeographical classification. The term phytogeography, derived from Greek terms phyto meaning plant and geography meaning distribution, is the branch of biogeography that is concerned with the geographic distribution of plant species and their influence on the Earth's surface. It's concerned with all aspects of plant distribution, ranging from the control on the distribution of individual species to the factors governing the composition of entire communities and floras. One of the subject's earliest proponents was Prussian naturalist Alexander von Humboldt, who is often referred to as the father of phytogeography. Von Humboldt advocated a quantitative approach to phytogeography that has characterized modern plant geography. Phytogeographical regions of India. A phytogeographical region is defined as an area of uniform climatic conditions having a distinctly recognizable type of vegetation. According to D. Chatterjee, India can be divided into 9 phytogeographical regions. Number 1. Western Himalayas. This region comprises North and South Kashmir, part of Punjab and Kumaon region of Uttaranchal. The region is wet in outer southern ranges and slightly dry in the inner areas. Average annual rainfall in this region is 100 to 200 centimeters. At high altitudes, snowfall occurs during winters. The region is subdivided into 3 zones. Number 1, submontane, lower, tropical and subtropical zone. This zone includes outer Himalayas, that's regions of Shivalik hills and adjoining areas from 300 to 1500 meter altitude. Average annual rainfall of the zone is around 100 centimeters. The vegetation consists of subtropical dry evergreen, subtropical pine and tropical moist deciduous forests. Number 2, temperate montane zone. This zone extends in the western Himalayas between the altitudes of 1500 meter and 3500 meter. The climate is wet between the altitudes 1500 and 1800 meter and is drier at higher altitude. The vegetation consists of wet forests, Himalayan moist and Himalayan dry temperate forests. Number 3, alpine zone. This zone extends between 3500 meter and 5000 meter altitudes. The rainfall is scanty and climate is very cool and dry. The vegetation consists of alpine forests. Number 2, eastern Himalayas. This region extends in the Himalayas from east of Nepal to Arunachal Pradesh. The climate is warmer and wetter than in western Himalayas. Tree line and snow line are higher by about 300 meter than in the western Himalayas. The tropical temperature and rainfall conditions result in vegetation of the region having greater general species diversity, greater variety of oaks, but lesser variety of conifers than in the western Himalayas. This region is also divided into 3 zones. Number 1, submontane zone. The zone extends from the foothills up to the 1850 meter altitude. The climate is nearly tropical and subtropical. The vegetation consists of subtropical broad-leaved forests, pine forests and wet temperate forests. Number 2, temperate zones. The zone extends from 1850 meter to 4000 meter altitude, about 500 meter higher than in the western Himalayas. The vegetation consists of typical temperate forests with oaks and rhododendron at lower altitudes and conifers at higher altitudes. Number 3, alpine zone. The zone extends between 4000 to 5000 meter altitudes. The climate is very cool and dry. The vegetation of this zone consists of alpine forests. Number 3, Indus Plains. This region comprises of a part of Punjab, Delhi, Rajasthan, Gujarat and Kutch. The climate is characterized by very dry and hot summers alternating with dry and cold winters. The annual rainfall is generally less than 70 centimeters and may be 10 to 15 centimeters in some areas. Most of the region is desert today, though it had dense forests about 2000 years ago that were destroyed due to the biotic factors, particularly extensive grazing. The vegetation today consists of tropical thorn forests and grasslands in some areas. Gangetic Plains. This region covers parts of Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Orissa. Average rainfall ranges from 50 centimeters to 150 centimeters from east to west. The vegetation consists of tropical moist deciduous forests, dry deciduous forests, thorn forests and mangrove forests. Assam. The region covers most of the parts of Assam. The climate is characterized by very high temperature and rainfall. The vegetation consists of tropical evergreen and wet temperate forests in the lower plains, while hilly tracts up to 1700 meter altitude have subtropical pine forests. Central India. This region covers parts of Orissa, Madhya Pradesh, Vindhyan region and Gujarat. The areas are mostly hilly with some places at 500 to 700 meter altitude. The average annual rainfall is 100 to 170 centimeters. Biotic disturbances are very common in this region, resulting in degradation of forests into thorny forests in the open areas. The vegetation consists of tropical moist deciduous forests, chiefly sal forests, in areas of annual rainfall above 150 centimeters, and mixed deciduous forests in the areas of rainfall 125 to 150 centimeters. Tropical thorn forests are found in the areas of annual rainfall below 125 centimeters. Western coast of Malabar. This is a small region extending from Gujarat to Kanyakumari along Western Ghats. The climate is warm, humid, having annual rainfall over 400 centimeters. The climate is tropical on the coasts and temperate in the hills. The vegetation consists of tropical wet evergreen, moist evergreen and moist deciduous forests. Wet temperate forests are present in Nilgiri, while mangrove forests are found in the saline swamps on the coasts. Deccan. The region comprises southern peninsular India from southern Madhya Pradesh to Kanyakumari, excluding the Western Ghats. The average annual rainfall in the region is about 100 centimeters. The vegetation consists of tropical dry evergreen, dry deciduous and swamp forests. Andaman and Nicobar. This region includes Andaman and Nicobar Islands. The climate of this region is warm and humid with very high temperature and annual rainfall. The vegetation consists of littoral mangroves, evergreen, semi-evergreen and deciduous forests. With this, we come to the end of this lecture. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching.